It was an adventure just to get this game.
So my beat-up old smartphone, let's call it old bubbly, couldn't update to the version of Android that Pokemon wants, so it was time to make an upgrade.
So I got a Samsung Galaxy On 5, which seemed to tick all the boxes I want for the $70 to $80 price range, but even that turned out to not be good enough.
So on top of having the good fortune of being an able-bodied phone-connected adult living in the safer half of a big city, it turns out that I also needed a phone with a gyroscope, and that's something you're not likely to find in budget phones under $200.
And if you know how much I love to rail against the conspicuous consumption of plastic, then you know I'm probably not the kind of guy to spend $200 on a cell phone.
But after playing with it on a couple of friends' phones, I was pleasantly surprised to see that this is actually a pretty lame feature that kills your frame rate, increases the already high likelihood of crashes, and makes the game harder. So just like everyone else who's trying to take Pokemon Go seriously, I just turned it off. So after grabbing some sunglasses, a trusty cap, and a comfy easy-to-wear pair of shorts, I felt ready to catch 'em all.
I'm finding another interesting problem here. I'm swiping the little green concert marker Pokestop over and over again, and it won't dump its garbage all over me because I guess Europe's taking up all the bandwidth or something. That's probably wrong, but screw you, Europe.
This app's got problems, but it's also got potential. As of the time of writing, I am a 13-year-old Pokemon trainer who's caught 43 of the 150 original Pokemon available. I've walked 27.06 kilometers around Atlanta learning about why this has become such a mega hit, and I don't think there's just one easy answer. There are several, and the first I noticed was, time dilation. A trippy astrological concept describing how things moving really fast experience time slower than things not moving really fast. And in our case, that concept is a way to understand how to leverage free-to-play energy timer mechanics on a stupid cell phone game. Because time and timers are the bane of this whole market. It's why Dungeon Keeper Mobile was so panned. Who wants to wait nearly 30 minutes to make the next move? Unless developers figured out how to make 30 minutes not feel like that long of a wait at all. Pokemon Go has countdown timers, both visible and invisible, keeping you from doing new actions unless you walk around. Stops and monsters only spawn in every few minutes unless you go out and find more, and combining these concepts of a collection game scavenger hunt with fitness tracking pedometer functions is really the crucial difference between feeling like I'm playing some kind of exploitive pay-to-win garbage versus an actually fun thing. You never have to wait more than 30 minutes to do the next move without purchasing things. Instead, you just have to walk around. So instead of ending up in competition against Facebook or Twitter for your free time on the toilet, playing Pokemon Go is a fully fledged activity, because going out for a walk is an activity. These wait times seem relatively shorter when you're walking, and while walking is slow as hell, it also conveys a constant sense of movement and progression. The end result is that you can spend 6 hours walking around the city playing Pokemon Go and feeling like you've made some real progress along the way, striking time against movement to spark up a feeling of accomplishment that wouldn't have happened without either. I did a video about fitness tracking cell phone games a couple years ago, and the problem they seemed to be facing was how to effectively abstract gameplay mechanics into running around with the GPS turned on. Zombies Run did it best, but even then its method was to randomly interrupt an audio drama interrupted by your running music, interrupted by a robot text-to-speech talking about your loot drops.
Collected a pack of underwear.
It was weird. Pokemon, on the other hand, is a language everyone understands. The mental image of Pokemon hiding in the tall grass of your very own backyard is easy to picture. It's an easy metaphor to turn into an AR game, though its language still isn't perfectly legible. What even is a Pokestop? What object am I spinning with my finger? Why are all these valuable goods scotch taped on the other side, and who keeps putting them back there? And this one still won't dump all of its garbage all over me. Unfortunately, the cool ideas behind the game are locked inside an app that wasn't ready for launch. On top of Pokestops not dumping their garbage all over you, the app is real finicky about when it'll even let you log in. Uptime is spotty, playing on peak hours is preposterous. Sometimes you do the really good thing and catch a super rare Pokemon you really want, and the camera just hangs there, on that final deciding moment forever. The risk of freezing on catching a Pokemon makes you really not want to catch Pokemon on this game all about catching Pokemon. Frame rates are never great, but for some reason they get even worse when you bring up any kind of menu. It slows the whole phone down to a point where even the volume buttons become laggy. And that's really bad engineering grinding against really good ideas. Pokemon Go may already be a mainstream smash hit success, but it's really just hinting at the popularization of a wacky, weird new kind of game genre, one that changes the way people interact with their world. I remember the first night I had this game installed, I headed over to Old Fourth Ward Park because someone had dropped a lure module. There were a bunch of cool kids hanging around with speakers playing Vaporwave. When I was walking past, one of them waved to me and said, "Hey dude, you just missed a Ponyta over there." And my response was just like, oh no, because I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know how to talk to normal people about Ponyta. Society has never trained me how to properly react to a Ponyta report. And from that moment on, I realized that I will never be cool again. A few days later, I went to the local racist recreation park, Stone Mountain. I was disappointed to find it wasn't full of rock types. Instead, it was full of Eevees, and I mean, come on, the place is called Stone Mountain. At least throw me a Geodude here. But anyways, when it works, the search for Pokemon is a fun time. There's some legitimate excitement to seeing a rare Pokemon pop up in an unexpected place, and that just adds to the fun of actually exploring a weird place in real life. Plus, add to that the 90s throwback misinformation floating around over whether some mechanics work at all or if they're currently broken or just ambiguous by design.
Do you think it's a real thing?
I don't know. I mean, I was reading the thing about this is how nearby works, and then when I searched it, there was also a bunch of articles that were recent that's like nearby is broken and has been since launch. So,
If nearby actually works as intended, I could understand how that girl found a dead body, because we really went out of the way here.
And that was the moment where I realized that no matter how bad the app was actually made, the experience was supreme. I was watching the sunset off of a mountainside, off of a giant piece of granite that somehow got turned into a Confederate monument, while searching for Pokemon. You can't make this stuff up. In the future, we're gonna look back at 2016 and be like, man, what kind of magic was that? Anyways, that was also the day I got into the pseudo PvP gym combat system, which is when you're going to want to care about the bit of a resource management and team optimization there is to do here. But when that combat's actually happening, your animation cooldowns have attacks fading into each other faster than if you risk the dodgy swipe detection to dash out of the way, so just spam tap. You fight at Pokemon gyms to chip away at their guard slots until no one's left home, then snatch it for your home team, then you fight yourself to create more trainer slots for your teammates, which people want because it rewards them with fun bucks to use at the store. As this learning process was going on, I would notice that occasionally groups of people would show up with their phones out, and on my screen maybe the gym meters would go up or down, maybe the gym would switch sides, but we would always take it back, because me and my boy Ryan, we were holding that shit down. We were staying, and they were going. And that clued me into how this social scene has developed. Teams work best if you have multiple people hitting specific spots in real life together. So this is a game about forming imaginary gangs with your friends to hit up other imaginary gang hideouts to fight over imaginary Pokemon parking spots. And since it's themed with the cartoony, nerdy, childish shenanigans of Pokemon, everyone's doing it and everyone thinks it's hilarious. Getting to the point where we're shouting jokes across parking lots at strangers.
alright, when you get them within range. Say what? Yep.
What team?
What team are you?
Best.
Which is the best?
Valor.
Growlithe just showed up right here. Nice.
Don't tell them that!
What?
No!
Pokemon Go has figured out how to leverage the typical bullshit of free-to-play cell phone games into a fun activity, mostly by the virtue of its branding and themes. The real problem with it is that the desire to go out and catch 'em all, which is the purported goal of playing, is a quest nudged by forces far beyond those within the game. That is the end goal, it is realistic, it is within sight, it doesn't sound impossible to complete, but once you collect all 150, what do you do then? Hell, once you even raise up a pretty decent fighting team for your neighborhood, what do you do then? There's really no reason to catch them all in the first place besides just filling out the checklist, and the fun bucks you get for holding gyms don't buy anything terribly useful. But all of that doesn't really matter when society is making those gameplay loops work regardless. Right now, there are no less than 6 active Facebook groups for this just in my city alone. The largest one has over 4,000 members. Over the past week, there were events happening every day, literally. Pub crawls to political discussions. This bar crawl in Columbus even issues color-coded wristbands to get people organized in the right teams and avoid cover charges. It seems like whenever this game gets brought up, so does a lot of anger and hatred towards it being as simple and shallow as it is, or it being as unoptimized and unstable as it is, or Niantic not putting out a lot more patches and responding to community feedback, or it just being the next big thing. And while some of those concerns are valid, I'd still much rather this be the next big thing than, like, Angry Birds 2. And also, I don't doubt that another developer is going to try to make a big AR mainstream phone game hit, cashing in on this one's success. And the funny thing is that it might actually be better, but I think the bigger story here is that Pokemon Go is giving hundreds of thousands of people, maybe even millions of people, something to do. And a lot of those people are people who otherwise would have nothing to do. It gives people a reason to explore the cities they've always lived in and connect with the people they've always lived around. And while I'm really happy that it's a video game that made that happen, I'm also really baffled by how much cynicism it would actually take to think of this as being a bad thing.